Hello and welcome viewers. You're watching India Sense. I'm Gaurie, Dwivedi. The next 30 minutes we get you all the latest as far as the Gulf War is concerned, which has in fact been going on for a month now. We get you India's key responses and also what's happening in the neighborhood with Nepalese Prime Minister's first key decisions after he took oath. All that and more, but first up a quick check of the big stories that we are tracking for you. 1 month of Gulf War as the war continues to rage. Fresh strikes and assaults by both sides have ensured that energy infrastructure and key and critical assets continue to be targeted. We decode for you India's response to how it navigated the choppy waters of the global conflict. The flip-flop over US President Donald Trump's war strategy continues. Donald Trump extends the 10-day pause or Iranian strikes. US strikes on Iran have halted till the 6th of April, even as the uncertainty continues with regard to whether or not peace talks will progress. Former Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has been arrested. Those arrests are due to the deaths that took place during the Gen Z protests. Those are first set of decisions that have been taken by Nepal's new Prime Minister, Palan Shah. And in a big blow to Khalistani terrorists as Canada moves to rein in the separatists that have been operating on its soil for decades, Babbar Khalsa flags are set to be illegal. That's a landmark bill passed by the Canada House.
बीते 11 वर्षों में 53 लाख मीट्रिक टन से अधिक का स्ट्रेटेजिक पेट्रोलियम रिजर्व भी डेवलप किया गया है।
The big story on India Sense this week, viewers. It's been a month since the war started between US, Israel and Iran. It's engulfed the entire world now in chaos and turmoil. On 28th of February is when those strikes that came in from Israel and America, in fact, led to the decimation as far as Iranian top leadership is concerned. 1 month into this war, the region continues to reel under the conflict with turmoil, uncertainty only increasing. Hundreds of missiles, drones have now been launched, in fact, thousands of them, striking everything in sight. From military bases to embassies to infrastructure to energy assets, all have been fair game in this conflict. The Strait of Hormuz has now become Iran's latest and biggest economic weapon. In fact, some are already calling it choke point war, with an oil blockade that's actually triggering massive economic turmoil that's having cascading impact. Oil prices have surged to new highs. And amidst all this, India has managed to remain resilient despite the global volatility on all fronts. One is ensuring steady supply of fuel, food, fertilizer and other commodities, and at the same time ensuring that its large diaspora, almost 1 crore people who live in this entire region, remain protected, safe, and that is the key priority. So what all has India been able to do in the last 1 month of this war? We cover all those aspects from strategic to diplomatic to humanitarian, where it has also taken care of its neighbors as well. All that we'll decode. But first up, I want to play out exactly what the Prime Minister said, where he said that India remains tall amidst the ongoing conflict that's engulfing large parts of the world. Listen in.
बीते 11 वर्षों में 53 लाख मीट्रिक टन से अधिक का स्ट्रेटेजिक पेट्रोलियम रिजर्व भी डेवलप किया गया है और 65 लाख मैट्रिक टन से अधिक के रिजर्व की व्यवस्था पर देश काम कर रहा है। साथ ही बीते दशक में भारत की रिफाइनिंग कैपेसिटी भी अच्छी खासी बढ़ाई गई है। मैं आपके माध्यम से सदन को और देश को ये आश्वासन देना चाहता हूं कि भारत के पास क्रूड ऑयल के पर्याप्त स्टोरेज के और निरंतर सप्लाई की व्यवस्थाएं हैं।
All right. So 1 month into this conflict, let's decode for you India's big action plan that has had an impact and covered all aspects of India's key priorities. First and foremost, energy and shipping. That has been completely paralyzed because of, as I said, choke point war that this is turning out to be. First and foremost, supply and energy supply, despite disruptions, have been protected by India. It has ensured that there is stable, continued supply of all energy requirements. And that has meant securing Indian tankers and their passage through the critical Strait of Hormuz. It has been a big choke point, but this is what India has been able to ensure. And that has meant that you and me and viewers, everyone watching this broadcast, we can go to our nearest petrol pump and fill petrol, diesel without any reasons of panic. It has diversified its oil sources as well for this very reason. Let's now tell you the strategic aspects of what India has been able to achieve. Dialogue, diplomacy, de-escalation has been the consistent message that New Delhi has given, even as it engaged with America, Israel, Iran and almost all Gulf leaders in the region. Even in that telecon with the US President Donald Trump, the effort was clear. Push for peace, push for dialogue, push for humanity. Let's now tell you the specific humanitarian aspects of this entire deal as well and what all India has been able to do. But before that, this important aspect I'm going to highlight as we talk about the humanitarian part is the diaspora. We've been speaking a lot about energy. Look at the fact that there are about 1 crore, 10 million Indians residing in this area. Their safety, their complete stability is the #1 priority for India. And it has also, in fact, gone ahead and ensured that all conversations lead in to just the diaspora bit as well. Next up, ensuring assistance to the stranded Iranian sailors off the coast of India. Remember, there were 3 of those Iranian vessels. On one, India provided all humanitarian assistance. It didn't end there. Whether it was Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, countries reeling under massive energy supply constraints, they have been provided a helping hand by India due to humanitarian efforts. Security and defense are the other aspects of what India has really looked at in the last 1 month. Indian Navy has been on high alert in the Arabian Sea. Remember, this is a war that actually went all the way to the Indo-Pacific, to Indian waters as well, whether you talk about Diogo Garcia or whether you talk about, sinking, Iranian vessels sinking in Sri Lankan waters. India has also strengthened maritime security to ensure that shipping lines are safe and secure. Last and equally important, I want to now mention the domestic aspect, the LPG rationing, ensuring that households continue to have LPG cylinder even if it means deprioritizing commercial entities. Domestic production has been boosted 40% and hoarding has been given, there's been a complete crackdown on hoarding as well. And last, most important, United India spirit, where the exhortation has been that we are in it together. All of us need to come in together, pitch in to ensure that we come out of this together, stronger and better. The only our ocean and island of stability at a time of global conflict. Let's get in Dr. James Dorsey joining us on the broadcast from Singapore, and we also have General Shukla. Always a delight to have General Shukla with us as well. And James Dorsey, thanks much for speaking to me on India Sense. Let me start, General Shukla, by taking the first question to you, which is that 1 month into this war, I want to first ask you the big messaging coming in from India, the kind of steps that we have taken to ensure our interests, our stakes are completely protected.
What the Iranians are doing really is that they are challenging the fundamental precepts of American power, which is 11 aircraft carriers, 800 bases to keep oil, business, commerce flowing. The Gulf Arabs are telling the Americans that, listen, you got us into this mess. Now Iran has a veto, you please clear the veto and go. You know, the Iranian rial is up since the start of the war.
Okay.
They are earning $2 million by way of toll tax. They are taking some toll tax and they have managed to deposit in Chinese banks $3 billion. And 1,500 ships are still waiting to pass a 3-month backlog, and they need whose nod? The Iranians' nod.
Okay.
Now, I don't think the Americans ever thought of this. And just let me give you 2 more data points and I'll come to the Indian response.
Okay.
In a supreme irony, Iran has got more sanctions relief by closing the strait than all the nuclear concessions they made in the past.
Right.
The US sanctions waiver to Iran will be giving it 10 times as much money as the Obama nuclear deal.
Okay.
And now look at the last point. When it came to tariffs, Trump imposed them and Trump walked back from them. He could tackle.
Yeah.
Here he cannot tackle. And if he cannot tackle, he has no option but to go up the escalation ladder. In so doing, he may fall into an escalation trap.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, there are options. I'm not saying that there are no military options, but there are those 40, 60 types. And they will be body bags.
All right.
Just this morning, I think in Saudi Arabia, an American base has been struck. 14 more soldiers injured, not yet, not
okay,
to
so
death.
two aspects to this entire discussion. As I said, one is the India perspective. There's been a 1 month into this conflict, how it's going. James Dorsey is going to talk more on that. But the India focus, how we've been able to actually keep not just our head above waters, we've been actually able to ensure that price rise hasn't happened. James Dorsey, come in there on the fact that this is now a conflict that the world needs to now prepare for, possibly for another couple of weeks, or do you fear it could be months?
I think we need to look at the reality on the ground. There are no serious negotiations. The US proposal, the Iranian proposal are maximalist proposals. They're designed to be rejected by the other. You have intermediaries passing messages back and forth between parties who at this point don't want to see an end to the war. That means the United States would like to, or Trump would like to find a way out, but he has no way out at this point. And the Iranians know it, and they're exploiting it. Okay. The other part of this is the development that we've seen today, which is we're on the precipice of a significant expansion of the war. On the one hand, you have the intensified Israeli and US bombings of industrial infrastructure in Iran, to which and of nuclear facilities, to which Iran has responded that it will retaliate in kind, warning industrial companies, US companies in the Gulf that they are targets. And you saw the entry of the Yemeni Houthi rebels into the conflict, which basically means if we thought that the next focus or the immediate focus of the war would be on the Strait of Hormuz, we could very well see that it's also going to be on the Bab al-Mandab, which links the Suez Canal to the Indian Ocean.
You know, before I come back to General Shukla on the Strait of Hormuz bit, because that impacts us very significantly, given how much of our imports come in from that region. James Dorsey, finish that thought about the Houthis coming into this conflict, the long-range missiles that could actually paralyze the other set of shipping routes in that entire region, the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, all of it. How much do you think that will impact the world and impact also which way this conflict goes?
Well, first of all, keep in mind that 10% of the world's oil, 10% of the world's gas, 10% of the world's trade goes through the Bab al-Mandab. So that's very significant. Fundamentally, I think that the Houthi entry into the war serves 3 purposes. One is to further put pressure on Israel, increase the number of missiles, drones that they have to intercept.
Yeah.
It threatens the Bab al-Mandab and shipping through the Bab al-Mandab. And it serves as a warning, particularly to Saudi Arabia, which has been taking steps towards a greater involvement in the war.
Okay, all right. That's actually a huge escalation and will impact everybody, including, you know, some of us who are thousands of kilometers away from where this war is actually taking shape. General Shukla, as we wrap up, I want your thoughts on the fact that, you know, this is really essentially coming down to choke points and Iranian leverage around that region. What should India's next course be?
By way of cushioning all that is being done. We are talking to the Iranians. I'm told every day we need, 3 tankers of oil, 1 of gas. That is coming. I'm sure we are doing some compromises with them. We would be talking to other sources of supply. Even the Americans, they produce 16% of oil. That Trump-Modi call may also have been something about this.
Yes.
But there are limitations to what you can do immediately. And therefore, immediately, I think whatever we could do, we are doing. But there are some long-term issues. And here I want to make one point, which I think, and this is a point, you may kindly consider. In India's strategic calculus, the flank of decision now is the maritime theatre. Admiral Arun Prakash wrote a lovely piece that while the Chinese have a Malacca dilemma, we have a Hormuz dilemma.
Yes.
We have just discovered. The Iris Dana, the fact that the Americans struck it will tell us that this Indian Ocean region must be converted into a lake, because if we don't convert it, you will have extra regional players. And we have to look at the Strait of Malacca. Could that be the next choke point conflict?
General Shukla, you actually raised many questions, many aspects that this conflict needs to now look at going forward. I'm afraid that's all the time we have right now to discuss this. James Dorsey, General Shukla, thanks much for speaking to me on India Sense. All right, the first wide-angle story on the show. Does anyone trust Pakistan? Yes, that's the question we are asking. A recent conversation took place between Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif. Ostensibly, they were exchanging notes. But the one word that struck out in that conversation was trust. That is what is needed for any negotiation to take place. And that's what we are asking here as well. Because no party trusts Pakistan. How is it that Pakistan can actually be a mediator? Or let me flip this. How can a mediator be one who is mistrusted? And this is how it actually unfolds. Pakistan is a country that everybody would want to believe actually has a seat on the negotiating table, is actually brokering peace, picking up the phone, talking. No, those are optics. That's far from the truth. How it actually is happening on ground is that Pakistan has no credibility. That's the fundamental question, viewers. It's a country that has fought a war with almost all its neighbors. It has even fought one with Iranians, exchanged strikes few years back. Why is it that Iranians would actually trust Pakistan? What's in it for them? Well, before we come to that, let me tell you that Pakistanis are seen as American stooges. And this is where it actually gets complicated for them if they wish to be negotiators, because Pakistan is in no position to have any difference of opinion with the Iranians, or for that matter, either side. Any disagreement will actually be viewed with deep mistrust. For the Iranians, it will be viewed as American view, American perspective. So what's in it for the Iranians to actually talk with Pakistan? Well, the only utility that Islamabad has right now is that of a postman. A country which will relay messages back to Washington, a country with no political capital or credibility to negotiate, best offering courier services to Donald Trump. The other important story that's playing out in India's backyard, viewers, India has entered a historic new, in fact, Nepal has entered a historic new chapter. One that's defined not by the old guard, but by an assertive, youthful demand for accountability and change. This change was in fact crystallized this week itself when Balan Shah, the world's youngest prime minister, took office. A clear mandate backing him. The mandate was for performance and reform after KP Sharma Oli. He was a dominant political figure, but he was arrested over his government's mishandling of the entire Gen Z protest. Oli's detention marks more than just legal repercussions for a violent crackdown that left scores of Nepalese dead, turned public anger into political upheaval. It signals a profound shift away from entrenched elite politics towards a new era where Nepal is entering, where leaders are going to be held accountable, not just at the ballot box, but in the courtroom. Well, for India, Nepal's pivot is urgent and consequential. A Balan-led Kathmandu could be more assertive, it could be more independent, less predictable than past governments. Nepal, remember, is now moving fast. Its old political hierarchy is crumbling. And in South Asia's ever-shifting chessboard, Balan Shah is now the new wildcard. He could be unpredictable, uncompromising, in full command of the narrative, and hopefully not in control of the Chinese. All right, with that, we wrap things up on this edition of India Sense. Thanks so much for watching.